How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk Live. I kind of like saying that, Tier Talk Live. Guys, it's going to be a great discussion. We're talking about how to create a wellness committee at the job, in the prison, in the jail, stuff that we could do for staff. I definitely think it's a needed discussion because of the times we're facing. I think we're going to give a lot of input and what we feel could be the best approach. That's the key. I myself am in a position of being a chairperson on a wellness committee, so I do have some ideas that I think that works. And we're going to have Russ. We're also going to have Connie. Connie will be coming on shortly. But we do have Russ. Before we introduce, even though Russ is there, let me just go over my sponsors real quick. We do have American Military University. American Military University. If you guys get a chance and you're looking to go to school, get that degree, bring experience back into the classroom. They're saying they're having trouble streaming on LinkedIn. I'll try to share it. Guys, check out American Military University. It's a great school. They've been, taking care of me since day one, but they also take care of the profession. They believe in what we do. We also have Guardian RFID, from inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based business and artificial intelligence. Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit guardianrfid.com for more information. And we also have the WRAP, W-R-A-P. Guys, if you're not familiar with the WRAP, I do have a link of that in the description here. Controlling combative subjects quickly and in an upright position so they can breathe has never been more important. Controlling departments such as Washington, D.C., L.A. County, San Diego County, and hundreds of other facilities across the U.S. Trust and believe in the WRAP restraint. Go to saferestraints.com for contact information and mention Tier Talk to receive instructor training at no cost. Lower liability for your facility and your personnel with the WRAP. Give the WRAP a call today, 800-WRAP-911. There she is. Russ, you remember Connie? Connie, you remember Russ?
Oh my God, it's so good to see Russ. I haven't seen him in a while.
Were you and I in a video once together?
Yeah, I think so.
A long time ago.
It's been a while. I guess there just hasn't been enough serendipity in the air to get us back together lately, but here we are.
Well, I told them today's show, Connie, is going to be about, and I know it's going to be about creating a staff wellness program. So why I share this out, I guess we'll go Connie first and Russ. Connie, can you introduce yourself to our audience again, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Connie Alleyne. I am the founder and president of the Civilian Corrections Academy. I'm also the podcast of The Fly Behind the Wall and the author of The Cage Was Her Cocoon.
All right. And we got Russ. What do you got, Russ?
I'm Russ Hamilton. I'm the founder of Keepers of Chaos on Facebook, which is a venue dedicated to the brave professionals of corrections of all stripes. And I also have 27 years with California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Started at San Quentin way back in 1989. Done some time in juvenile as well. And just love being on Tier Talk.
All right, so guys, bear with me for 1 second. I'm just sharing it out to one more group. For some reason, LinkedIn is not accepting it through StreamYard. So I just want to post this up on LinkedIn separately. There it is. And I like to share it to one group on LinkedIn called the Criminal Justice Professionals, which now it has been done. That is the hard part. I don't have a producer, so this is what I have to deal with. By the way, guys, good news before we start the topic. We may be speaking at another conference next year in Wisconsin. We're still working on the details. We'll know more. But what's cool about this conference is not only will we get a chance to speak and do our panel discussions, but they're offering us a chance to kind of branch out on our own and do individual courses. I thought that was pretty unique. And want to hear something, guys, before we get on the topic, just about growth. So you could tell Tier Talk kind of evolved, the perspective where we're trying our best to grow. So imagine when they tell you that they want you to speak on even leadership topics. Now see where we can create an influence. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's something that, we've always wanted to do to have an impact. And now for people in leadership positions to see that we have value, that's a great way to create a change. And if it starts in Wisconsin, it starts in Wisconsin. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, guys, by the way, after we do the topic for a little while, we'll be able to answer some of your questions that go outside the topic. But at the beginning, if you want to ask questions about the topic, obviously, obviously, hold on, guys. LinkedIn's, I don't know what's going on with LinkedIn right now. Obviously, please keep on asking questions about the topic. You just want to stay specific because if people are looking at this, they see the topic, they're going to want to get that answered first. So with that said, hey, Russ, before we kind of really dive in, how long have you been out of corrections itself? I know you're working on the rehabilitation side, but how long have you been out of corrections?
So I've been out now for about, I have to think about it, for about 3-4 years.
So, Russ, did they have wellness programs, or were they starting them when you were in the process of leaving the profession?
Okay, so when I was in CDCR, we had peer support teams basically. We also did have training and so forth on staff suicide and those kind of things, but there wasn't anything really, I don't think, offered that seemed very organized or put together. That started changing, I think, actually after I left and got more into doing what I was doing with the juveniles at that point. But it's good to see, there's a lot of people out there now doing a lot of good work with respect toward, staff wellness, John Mendebor, William Young, etc. Bringing it to the forefront. It's one of those things that we want to see. It's about damn time.
Yes. And by the way, Chuck Williams says it best too. Where is he? Staff wellness is so important right now. It is. I mean, look at New York. So just real quick, Brian Roback, look what he's mentioning. New York State closed 6 facilities, 2 max, looking to close another 4 more in April. Hundreds of officers are locked out due to non-compliance with the vaccine mandate, and more to come. Locked out indefinitely without pay. So corrections is going through a lot of crazy stuff right now. So it's good to have a wellness program. I do want to mention, so we have a foundation, a wellness program. I just want people to be aware. A wellness program is meant to help us during these rough times. They really don't get involved in changing so much. Like when we're talking about, what are we doing about mandated overtime and all this other stuff? Wellness committees don't really have the power to put an end to that. What they can do is try to balance it or try to teach or try to work with people to, it sucks, but to have better reactions. Because guys, if ever there's a time to be intentional with positivity, it's now. So me and Connie were talking in the car before, like, okay, I know you got mandated. So what we could do as a wellness committee is make up a family day, where we can kind of maybe make up some time and, let your family know how much you're appreciated. Because I get it, when you're mandated, you're kind of mad at the agency, but right now we're struggling too. So maybe it's great if we could do a family day to let your family know of the hard work you do, your dedication, and that you're appreciated. So again, it's a balance. But for people that think the wellness committee could help with incentives, I mean, talking about greater pay, they're very limited, guys. What they can do is try to help us react to the times and maybe make a better environment that I know we're stuck in, but maybe an environment that, shows a little bit more care for the people who are going through these rough times. What's your thoughts on that, Connie? I remember we had a little bit of this discussion before.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at this point, with all the influx, all the changes that's going on in all the facilities in all the states, right? The different mandations and not just even just the vaccination, I think from a long term, so it's not sustainable. I think the way we've been operating, sort of running short, all the stuff that's kind of been our life in corrections. I think that we're just at a breaking point. And I think we've got to recognize that that's where we are now. And there has to be some way that we're providing support to the staff to kind of keep them encouraged and keep them coming in, because it is a hard time. And I think, I think it's far overdue. It's something that we should have been focused on sooner than now, because then perhaps we would not be in this state of crisis if we had been. Right.
And guys, hello, Cecilia. We know you. You know what? William Young got an article of 5 things about your wellness program that obviously will make it fail if you don't do these things, or I'm sorry, if you avoid these things. 5 things. I don't have the article in front of me. Connie, title?
I'll open it up right now.
Yeah, hold on, guys, because I'm chopping this one up, man. But I just want to mention something. His article is unique because it's going to come from a frontline perspective and how they feel, which motivated us to have the dialogue today. William will be on next time, but if you get a chance to read William's article.
So it's called The 5 Reasons Your Staff Wellness Program is Going to Fail.
Yeah, not what I called it. Just make sure. Yeah. But guys, that's a very powerful title because it's the mindset. Because right now, even if we do have a wellness committee, a lot of people already have the mindset that it's going to fail. So sometimes, that article right there, good article, because it really tells you about the perspective of that front line, is this confirms where they may want it to go. Because again, we're going to discuss some of the conflicts. So let's just put something out there, and I'll go with Russ first, and then I'll go to Connie, and then I'll elaborate. So guys, by the way, a wellness committee, we all agree, is definitely needed at this point. It's definitely needed because the staff is overwhelmed. But let's just get something straight real quick. An employee wellness program or a staff wellness program isn't just for frontline officers. It's going to be for anybody who works in corrections because we're all dealing with stressors. Not to minimize what the officers go through, I get it, but we have to be fair. We also have supervisors that are dealing with a lot of stress. So when we talk about staff wellness, we all have to be in the right mind so we could be effective within the roles that we are supposed to be effective in. So again, this dialogue is a dialogue that is going to be founded on a staff wellness program for that facility. And it's not an isolated wellness. It's how do we get everybody to be okay working with each other? Because at the end, even if we focus on one group, guys, besides it being unfair, it's not gonna be something we're gonna look. I'm not gonna look forward going to work every Monday if okay, I'm good with my department, but I'm still miserable with everybody else. You have to be able to find a way to bring people together, and I think that's the big root of the employee wellness program. But Russ, let's talk about the employee wellness program. Do you believe that the employee wellness program is something that should affect all staff, including supervisors?
Yeah, I don't think that, anyone that works in a prison needs to be left out of a way to access help to deal with, stress, post-traumatic stress syndrome, whatever it may be. We want as many people that are exposed to this environment to be able to get some help, to get some support in order to be able to, fight off all these things. Things that happen to you as an officer can come back and bite you, later in the career, even if you're a captain or major or associate warden, whatever. So I think that the bigger your base is and the more people are involved in inputting into it and trying to, bring solutions to light, the better off we're all going to be. Just trying to limit it to the front line, the officers, seems a little bit short-sighted to me. So I would want to get as many people involved as you can. And that does one very important thing is that it tends to transmit the problems that do happen down at that, that first level where the officers are at, transmits it to everyone that manages to get involved. So maybe they have a better chance of seeing what we're up against at that lowest level where, the rubber meets the road, so to speak, where the most stress, that comes from daily incidents, the stress that comes from being mandated, the stress that comes from, having to make critical decisions every single day. And if we can bring that about, maybe we can, kind of, soften and polish those rough edges that we tend to have with some of our interactions between the upper and lower stratas.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, the reason why we're starting with this dialogue, which is an inclusive dialogue, is because we have to understand each perspective. I mean, stress could be subjective. I know that what may be a major concern for, let's say, a program side of things may not be seen the same way for custody and vice versa. But the problem is if we all did work together, we would share in what those stresses are and help each other, knowing that we need to do that because we're working together as one. And I think Chuck says something that's going to hit home with Connie. When we're talking about wellness, who needs it? Anyone. The stressors are different, but we're all feeling the stress. Ain't that kind of what we just bumped into?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's our reality, right? No matter where you are. So, I know on the medical side, like the push has always been to preserve resources, right? And it's like, so we know that the population is sicker. We know that the environment has just different stressors that, at a point may not have impacted the non-uniform staff. And now it is, right? And so now you're trying to, I think we've kind of always been in that space of doing more with less, and it's simply just not sustainable. So I feel that, when you have now this staffing issue and you've got one nurse on the floor in medical, one nurse on the floor in mental health, different facilities, the layout may be different, the population size, but we know that we've got a higher rate of mentally ill diagnosis in the facilities, which is an added layer of stress for everyone, right? Because now we're managing not just the population, but you're managing behavioral issues, you're managing mental health issues. We've got a medically ill population. We're not able to accommodate a lot of the medical challenges that many of the inmates come in with. So I think the stress is there. We just see it differently and it may present differently. But then I think the added layer of stress is that we're all stressed, right? And so that fatigue, that short temper, and it's not like you're just wanting to be short with someone, but you don't have the same patience you might have had if you didn't have all of these other moving parts sort of impacting your ability to just have, peace of mind at some points during the day.
Yeah, and guys, I want you to know, so I love what John says. By the way, John's pretty young. He said he was born 1989. He goes, admin will never understand and don't care. Ask them to run point. Can I tell you something, guys? And just before we get into the wellness dialogue, effort is never really seen. I know outcome is most of the time. And problem is sometimes we don't get the outcome we want. But we don't really appreciate the effort because it's not seen. So sometimes we have to be wary that the people that we think, are able to make the choices that we want are not, but they're making the effort. But they can't tell you, if a choice, they can't tell you, they can't point the blame. All they can do is make the effort. So sometimes I think part of the dialogue here, especially to just really start off on a good, honest dialogue about wellness, is we have to learn to appreciate the effort and not the outcome, because the effort is what matters. The effort truly matters, because the moment you stop appreciating the effort, people stop trying. And now you have no chance of ever getting an outcome. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with that. And part of the gap is, yes, administration and frontline, or management and frontline. Because, guys, the funny thing is it's not just officers and their admin. It could be the program providers and their bosses. It could be medical and their managers, so basically very generalized. It could be, love, effort's never seen, the outcome is right. And the funny thing is, it's really just a relationship between those that hold people accountable and those who have to do the work, so, and it is a domino effect. Like Cecilia says, hey, Harvey, what's up? So again, so the first thing with a wellness committee that I feel, and I'll start on this part, is we understand right now that we have a foundation, right? We get it. We get that there's a divide. So obviously the effort for a wellness committee, for me, because I'm looking for something everlasting, has to bring that divide. It's got to end it. It's got to start bringing these people together. I think that's the key. I think that's maybe something that may not be surface, but definitely be something that motivates that wellness committee. Because in the end, I do want people to feel, feel that we're together. I don't want people to feel isolated. Imagine having a wellness committee made up of all these different departments, and your main focus is only one department. The other departments that are there are going to be like, yo, what about us? What about us? What about us? So you have to have people. This is my first thing. We'll start from this. You have to have people. Hey, Liz, you have to have people that are passionate about the vision of what the agency is about. That means that we all believe in our collective work. What we have to get out there, what we have to get done, in order to complete what the agency expects from us. That means that if we understand the vision at the highest level, we understand the different missions that are happening amongst the different departments, in an effort to complete the mission. Because remember, guys, the mission that we have is a lot greater than one department. The mission that we have in the DOC involves all the different departments. They all play a role, because without one department, the full mission can't be completed. So you want people that are passionate about the collective mission and bringing us together. So that, to me, is the first thing. Do I have someone at the table that's passionate about the mission first? I want to know. The reason why I'm saying the mission is because, don't get me wrong, guys, I do care about my people. I do. But I also have to maintain some type of productivity. I have to kind of have a reason for what I'm doing. I want my people to be happy, but I also want them to be motivated to work. I want them to want to come to work. I want them to embrace the values that we have. I want them to I want us to have a shared purpose. So it really does start with everybody at the table understanding what that mission is and what we are trying to accomplish, and be passionate about that mission. For me, that's what starts first. But Russ, what's your thoughts about passion about the mission and the purpose in what we do? Because if you have purpose in the job that you're doing, in my mind, doesn't that provide value in how you see yourself and what you're doing? I know you knew you had purpose.
Oh, absolutely. And, the people that, bother to, do the wellness program, the ones that are putting effort into it, the ones that are trying to, identify problems and identify solutions and try and find ways to make things better. There's plenty of room for, some animus there with regards to other issues, with regard, going to, administration, to the mat on some things. But this is not that. This is that thing where we can all agree that we want to make things better for everyone involved, that we want to bring wellness, and we want to bring a way for people to access this thing in order to avoid all of those negative things that we see, months off of work, problems with people getting into, drinking or substances, or God forbid, suicide or suicide attempts. This is that thing. And so this is that thing that we can use, hopefully, to try and, everyone say, I'm on board with this. This is something worth pursuing. I may have personal differences. I may have professional differences in other parts of this thing, but this is where we can stand as one and say, people need help. Let's give them some.
I love that, Russ, because you know what you're telling me, Russ, and I got it. The reason why I love it is because, guys, we're going through a lot of rough times in corrections. We see it. So people have to realize that there's a greater purpose here, that we need them, that they're valued. We need them to be invested, even at these hardest times when they're tired. So if you go in with a way to have a vision, and then people can align their values to that vision of what we're trying to push across, that gives them purpose. Now it makes it easier for us to connect with these people at a very intimate level, even if it's with, me and Russ, Connie, do this all the time, a shared story, a shared experience, whatever it is to motivate people. But if we're not on the same page, if we're, we're at that meeting and we don't truly understand what, this vision is, this greater vision, then all of us are going to go out there independently and just not really be a collective force. Because right now, if anything, right now, guys, through these tough times, we do have to let people know that there's a purpose behind it. I know you got mandated 3 days in a row. I get it. I know you're tired. I get it. But let me tell you something. The work that you're doing, it's appreciated. It's you're serving a higher purpose, whether it's protecting the public or however you see it. Wherever you find that personal value, that's what's going to motivate you through these toughest of times. But it's a hard sell, but it is the truth if you're willing to be open to it. Now, Connie, what's your thoughts on finding the wellness committee, trying to understand that vision and try to reunite some purpose in the people that do this tremendous work?
So, I think the wellness committee has, their work cut out for them in that it cannot be us taking some sort of cookie cutter approach, right? Like, I think that you need the voice of the people involved in order to know that this committee is actually going to meet a true need, right? Whatever those needs are. And we can't solve world's hunger, right? Like, we can't do everything. We can't fix everything, but we can, however, really just survey the staff to see exactly what they need. What do they want? Where are they hurting the most? Right. And are there solutions that we could present that will actually fix a problem? Right. Because I mean, one of the things I think in Will's article, he talks about, we're not interested in, having hot dogs. Right. Like, because that doesn't really I think there's a level of appreciation involved in that. And it's just an acknowledgement that here's something small that we can do just to show that we appreciate you. But like when you think wellness and people are carrying sort of this heavy burden of whatever they're feeling in their facilities, the hot dog isn't the answer, right? It is looking at, so is there like some sort of service we can bring inside since people can't get a day off, right? Like there has to be some way for us to acknowledge some of the barriers that folks are having just accessing services. And then how do we meet that need? Right. So like, I know a lot of people don't want to talk to EAP in a public space, right? They don't necessarily want to talk to those providers, in wherever we might set up a mini clinic, right? Like a mini space for that person to work. Right. But is there a way for us to afford someone the privacy as well as the time to get off post to be able to talk to someone who we brought on site? I think that's where the wellness comes in, when we're really looking at what are the challenges that the staff are having? What are the solutions that we're bringing to them in acknowledgement that they don't really have the free time to kind of go and get those services? And then if they do have the time, do they want to go, right? Because they are tired. I would rather go home and sleep than go ahead to this office. So I think that's what we got to really be aware of and try to find solutions that they will actually utilize because they're there and they're in a space where it's convenient for them.
Yeah, and I love how we're using the word appreciation over recognition, because recognition is more of like you doing something and recognizing for someone for it, but appreciation is personal. Appreciation is an appreciation of the individual. So even if that comes from the little things that they may do, it's personal, as opposed to recognition is really recognizing an outcome of something or what the person had to do. Maybe you gave them an order and they did something above and beyond. It's like, okay, hey, as management, we got to recognize that, because usually recognition comes from above. But appreciation is just, I appreciate you, Russ. I appreciate you, Connie. It's more of the person that puts meaning behind whatever it is, as opposed to recognition is more of the outcome, the behavior, and then putting meaning towards the person. The appreciation in my mind is the person putting meaning towards, even if it's a small little action, but it's the person coming first. So I love the fact that we're using appreciation, because to me, that's not as superficial. Even though, don't get me wrong, we still need to be recognized, but appreciation to me carries a lot more value. Plus it's more opened to the people next to me, or, not just from above. So again, I chose the mission as the beginning spot, or the vision, because I do believe that a lot of stuff at that table from us, we have to understand each other's role, because you do want that committee to be made of different representatives from different departments, because as Chuck said, Connie and Russ all said it, is there's different stressors, different perspectives. So you can't expect to kind of be a myopic wellness committee. You have to have those different perspectives involved. But again, the way you connect all those perspectives is through that vision, because the vision is where it shows that we are dependent of each other. So if the committee's healthy and we're all getting along and we all believe in the values of each other's perspective based on what that mission is, then that carries over into our interactions with the people on the floor and getting them to buy into it. Now, here's the unique thing, guys. So when you're forming a committee, you have to first look for the people that are going to buy into the vision of that committee, what that committee is about, right? So you got to make sure that you find the right people. Now, the funny thing is the front line, the people that may most be affected by the wellness, even though it is a staff thing, is they're going to look at the people too, but their motives are different. The motives are going to be different. So one of the things that Will mentions is that you got to have a trusting environment. I agree with that 100%. You can't have the wrong people leading this wellness committee if they have a history of not being trusted, because the wellness committee is about the vulnerability. So you can't expect people to express some level of vulnerability if the people that they're going to express it to can't be trusted. So one of the things is you got to have a trusting environment. But I want to say this because Will mentions it in his article, so I want to make sure we get both points. The trusting environment has to come both ways. We got to stop having generalized animosity based on people's positions. It's unfair. Unfair generalizations are killing us, because instead of us understanding that a good attempt is a good intent, well, I just hate all admins, so I don't care what admin does. Whatever they try to push forward, I'm against it. And it's funny because maybe the admin that you have a problem with is no longer there. But the problem is the generalized animosity really makes it difficult for us to put any initiative up. And then we're the bad guys, but hey, guys, you got to be open. You got to take a chance. Because there are people out there trying to make a good intent, but we ourselves, because we're so biased in the negative, the only thing, even a good attempt becomes negative because we put these motives in our head that could really mess up a true, honest attempt to change something, to make something positive. And Will said it when we were in Nebraska. Maybe we could do a pizza party just to recognize pizza or give someone $1 million, but they won't take it. Look, why you give me $1 million for? I don't trust it. Sometimes an honest attempt is an honest attempt. So with the trust, what I'm trying to say here is that it has to be both ways, which means that sometimes you got to jump in. Hey, admin is trying to do this event for us. What could the possible motive be? Maybe it could be 20 million negative things, or maybe it could be the one positive thing. But if you're not willing to be intentional to see the positive, you're not going to give it a shot. So we're making all these attempts. Doesn't matter because of your distrust. Well, sometimes we have to be willing to open ourselves up a little for this attempt, because in the long run, what's going to happen? Okay, so you went to a party that appreciated you, and then you found out admin only did it because they were told to. Okay, but you still had a chance to go to a party or a celebration of what you did. I mean, eventually we'll get them to buy in, but the point is, sometimes you have to jump in, because maybe what you realize on the adverse of that is maybe they are doing it because you are being appreciated, because someone thought, hey, you know what? We got to do something for them, especially during these times. So let's talk about this trust. Let's talk about this divide. I mean, Russ, I'll go with you first. This distaste we have, this generalized animosity, I think is our biggest threat to any wellness, to any lifting of the divide. So what would you expect from frontline if there is a good, honest initiative from admin, but they just can't see past the generalized animosity of I like what Russ said to me today. Admin sometimes seems to be the biggest chord on the piano when it comes to blaming. What's your thoughts on maybe seeing if we can see past that to maybe see if there really is a good intent?
Well, we do have to see past it, and we have to do that because, whether it's for our own mental health or that of our fellow officer next to us in the trenches, we have to realize that, resources for us tend to come from above, no matter which way we look at it. So if we can draw the administrators, the managers, the supervisors and stuff, into our corner, and some of these guys, have that propensity to be able, to project the idea of, wellness, to be able to, have that passion for just trying to help staff in general, then we can use that to our advantage. And for us to be suspect over every little thing, that comes from conditioning. Some of that comes from our conditioning toward dealing with the inmates. Some of it comes from some general true animus towards some people in positions of power over us. But we have to get past that in order to try and help everybody as a whole. And I think that that's, really what I would like to see happen, because there are some people that want to become involved in this, some associate wardens, et cetera, that really do, have the ability to bestow those resources, to have that juice card, to be able to, move those mountains that are in the way of trying to actually help some people. Now, that may not be what they are all the time. I mean, there are times where, they have to hold us accountable. There are times where we may have personal conflicts with them because we don't feel that we should be held accountable for something that wasn't our fault. But overall, we need to judge each and every individual event with objectivity and not just go, well, the last guy got screwed, or I got screwed the last time, or I had a bad experience. We have to have a chance to input some of this stuff to get it going and to let it have that foothold, because we've seen where we are along the way so far with all of these bad things that go on with us, the elevated suicide rates, the levels of alcoholism, the levels of, God forbid, controlled substances, marriages dissolving, all of those bad things. Let's give them a chance to help, and let's hold their feet to the fire on it.
Yeah, and you know what I like about what you're saying, Russ, is I think we have two levels of hopelessness too, because you have staff frontline that feels that they're trapped, and I get it. A life that's unpredictable, understaffing, but sometimes we tend to blame the people that aren't really in control of it, but are the ones that have to hold you accountable to it. That to me is a very tough situation for management, because, and guys, I'm not minimizing the fact that you guys are going out there. Don't take it the wrong way. I get it. And that's obviously 10 times harder. But don't get me wrong. It's also harder when you have management that does understand that perspective, but they're very limited in what they can do. So again, they understand it, but they also have to hold you accountable. And it's tough because they also have a job to perform, and it's not really an ideal job. And that doesn't mean that they don't care. It just means that they have a function. It's not like they're smiling as they charge you. And if they are, that's on them. That's an individual who doesn't need to be in a leadership position. But there are some that I'm sure there's an effort. I'm sure they're trying to say something. But in the end, that maybe their boss is listening and say, "Are you done? Good. Write them. Do what you got." And it's like, damn, but at least they're making the effort. But having said that, again, we kind of touched on it before, the efforts aren't always seen. So the problem is the admin, because they can't produce the outcome when they finally do something to balance that hopelessness. Because now remember, I said frontline was hopeless. Why? Because they're going through an unpredictable life. There's no way out, but management has no control, so they feel hopeless. So a wellness committee could be a great way for them to say, listen, we hear what you're saying. I can't change the fact that you have to get mandated. I can't raise your pay, but we can do an event. We could do something that's within my means to control. Now, frontline may say, well, that's not enough because I want greater pay and I want this. I get it, but I don't have control of that. But I do have control of this. So because I can't get you the outcome of greater pay, or sorry, you got mandated 4 days in a row, I get it. And I'm sorry I had to hold people accountable. I get it. But maybe what I could do is the things I am in control of is, hey, guys, it may not be this, but I can do this for you. But sometimes frontline may say, well, that's not good enough. Yeah, but that's good enough for me because that's all I can do. That's pushing me the furthest I can go. So, Connie, what's your thoughts on this as well?
I mean, at this point, I feel that as much as I think there are some efforts that are being made, you're right. You're going to always have those staff for which it's just not enough, right? Because of the sacrifice that they're making. And I think the challenge will always be, how do we match that, right? In any wellness committee that's created, how do we provide support in a manner that the staff will receive it in the spirit that it was put together? And I don't know that we will ever get there, only because, like you said, so here's what's within my scope to be able to provide you all, right? And it may not be much, but we can't force them to appreciate it, right? You would like for them to be able to acknowledge that something is being done. It may not meet every need, but there is an attempt. And I think that as we try to push the envelope and we try to get creative and we try to make sure staff are healthy, right? Because when staff are not healthy, it impacts our entire system. It's like, if we are one body and then you've got people who are sick in that one body, you've got sick cells, right? Your body just isn't well. And I think that's the thing we have to look at, is that one person not well impacts all of us. 2 people not well, 3 people not well. I think the more people that we realize are not well, I think it almost intensifies that sense of urgency to do more. And I just, I guess as I think about it, it's like I could hear somebody saying, like, I don't care if you did that. Like that doesn't do anything with me being mandated 3 times. It doesn't do anything about me not being able to go home to my family. And I don't know that we will ever be able to come up with an answer that meets the mail. I think that's really the challenge, that we are trying to do different things. And I think from state to state, the initiatives vary, but I think we also need just some understanding from the other side.
Yeah, and I love Exefiel because team supervisors can try to improve working environment. So I love what he's doing here. He goes, but if you don't have power to make actual change, I think most effort is wasted. The reason why I'm going to say it's not wasted, and by the way, great comment here. Hey, Samson, and thank you for putting this up, Exefiel, is because if we don't, it becomes routine and we start to accept it. So even though we may not get the outcome we want, we also don't want to put ourselves in a helpless fact where we just think, okay, this is what's going to happen. So sometimes even just bringing it up is a reminder that we can't be doing this every day, even if it doesn't go nowhere. Because the worst thing of it all is not what the outcome is. If we start accepting that as the norm, and that's part of when we stop bringing it up. So I do believe the effort has value, not so much when it comes to the outcome, but more so in kind of reminding us that, this isn't permanent. Regardless of, we're going to keep on doing it and keep on doing it and keep on doing it. Because again, it kind of deals with the hopeless versus helpless studies back in psych, where even when you, I think, provided the animal with the way out, the animal just gets stuck there because it loses faith. So the whole time there's no way out, and then all of a sudden you give them a way out, and they're like, nope, I'm just going to accept it. Well, same thing here. I don't want us accepting it. That's why, for me, the effort matters. You got to continue to bring it up. Now, another thing is that matters to me is, so a lot of things when it comes to a wellness committee is looked at as, let's say, external incentives. Some people are happy with a food truck or a Keurig machine or something that may seem small at first, but is a reminder of, hey, you guys are appreciated. So let's do a food truck today, or let's give everybody a Keurig machine. Money well spend it. I mean, again, I love what Connie said. It small compared to being mandated 5 or 6 times a week, but it's an effort in good faith, with good intent behind it. But having said that, guys, the external incentives are tough for me because I don't know when people, let's say you have a bunch of people going to the food truck, right? I don't know if they're supporting the efforts of the wellness committee or if they just selfishly want to get a hot dog, or I don't know if they're supporting the efforts of the wellness committee or they just want a cup of coffee because it's late night and it's third shift. So you still have to do things to kind of get some feedback if the wellness committee is doing the right thing, but it can't always be an external incentive. Sometimes the wellness committee has to be able to get the staff to give something back, if that makes sense. So that it's being received. So give you an example. Thank you board. Something I don't usually talk about my job because I'm still on the job, but I believe this matters. So I'd like to share it. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for it because it's nothing major. I think it's a good intent. And maybe if someone's watching it, they'll see why I did this thank you board. So, and if I'm fired, Connie's got this Civilian Corrections Academy. So, you would love to hire me full time. So, and Russ, let's start rehabilitating. So let me explain something real quick. And there's nothing disrespectful here, obviously. So you get a food truck. That's great. It brings people together. And by the way, the cool thing about the food truck is you see everybody while they're waiting for food. They're talking to each other. Their staff is mingling. They're even eating together. Love it. I love it. More evergreen for me. But again, are you buying a hot dog? You're supporting the wellness committee. I don't know. Now, for a thank you board, that's an investment, right? That means I'm going to go in, I'm going to write something, and I'm going to give something back, not receive. I'm going to give something back. To me, that shows, okay, there's someone maybe supporting this initiative. Actually, when I see stuff like that, that may be someone I may want to even have on the wellness committee. I also want people, like right now I'm trying to build the bridge together because I do believe working together does create a better mind, is we're writing in newsletters different what we do on the job. So this is custody's role, this is social services, just to get a better understanding, but that's an investment of time. So when you go up to someone who's eating, like let's say at the food truck, and you say, hey, can you do me a favor? Would you be willing to write, what you do every day so people can get an understanding? It's like, nah, Gange, I don't have the time for that. Oh, all right. I'm not going to bother you. I just, I thought, maybe you would be interested in just giving a perspective, to kind of bring us together. No, I don't have the time for that. Okay, I get it. No problem. But then you get someone else like, yeah, I like that. You know what I'll do? I'll get my whole department to do it. I'll get this. I'll get this. Hold on. Can I talk to you for a second? Come here. Passion. But there's only so much. I don't want to motivate people to do stuff they don't want to do. I don't. I want people to kind of be inspired to do it. So I think part of this wellness committee is to find the right people that, yes, they have influence, but they're inspired for the right reason. So Russ, I mean, from your perspective, you get what I mean by you have a wellness committee. So you want to make sure that the wellness committee is supported, and it's not just the things that you're doing. So I'm doing a food truck, but do you support me, the wellness committee, or do you support the food truck? So you have to provide initiatives that get people to give stuff back, to see how invested they are in what's happening. Don't you think that matters? Because I'll tell you something. The moment, let's say, a food truck doesn't come, it's like, wow, the wellness committee didn't come through today.
Yeah, I think that goes back to, there are people that are definitely more passionate than others. There are some people that can't be bothered. There are some people that are going through things where they're just not, able to, maybe make any sort of a donation of time or money or effort or recognition to that. I think that, you just have to really look at, getting people to understand what it is that they're receiving and what they could do to make that happen for more people. Obviously, ideally, people, putting in some time, some effort, some money, some thought, some ideas, or at least talking it up to the rest of the staff would be fantastic. Otherwise, it tends to be one of those things that eventually, sooner or later, unless they're really, really managing to keep up the fire of emotion and passion, it'll wither on the vine.
Right. Wow. And Russ, 100%. And also, I want people to know something. A wellness committee also deals with an investment of time. So let's say, guys, for the wellness committee, it's not just what you do 8 hours a day or 16 hours a day, however long you're at work. It's going to require some time outside of work. And again, that also talks about the investment of people. Are they into what you're doing? So here's the thing. You're going to be able to try to get some events together that could bring people together where we're not surrounded by the job. We're maybe we're in civilians, just getting together and just, getting to know each other as people. So when we're out, it's not Sergeant Hamilton. Hey, what's up, Russ? Hey, what's up, Aunt? How you doing? Hey, Connie. And it's not Connie from medical. It's just Connie today. We're not to know each other by our department. We're to relate to each other as people first. This is what these outside events are. Now, the funny thing is people ask, hey, Gange, this leadership thing that you want to do or this hike that you want to do, is that during the work week? No, guys. It's going to be this day at this time. Oh, I have off that day. Okay, well, if you want to come. Nah, I'll only come if it's going to be during the work day. Yeah, but that's, again, guys, I get it. I don't have the power, or we don't have the power to pull you off your shift. But again, that goes to show that maybe you could just be wanting to get out of the unit that day. The work comes from the people. It's like, hey, guess what? Everybody that's on the wellness committee is here, and we don't work on, let's say, Thursdays. But we're here because we're here on our own time, trying to meet with each other, getting together. That's an initiative. That's an initiative that goes way beyond the job. Plus, that's a great environment as opposed to, and the first of all, that's good for us to get an understanding of, well, these people are here because they're committed and they believe in what we're doing, as opposed to, wow, I got the biggest group I've ever had, but my whole facility is empty. You know what I mean? I don't know where their motive is. I don't know if their motive is to support what we're doing or if the motive is just to get off their post. So you have to do some things that require an investment of personal time. I guess that's the way to say it. Would you agree with that, Connie?
Yeah. I mean, because then that shows their level of commitment, right? Like, because that means I am willing to give some of my time in order to, you know, have I guess some influence in that wellness committee, as well as being influenced by the wellness committee. Because if you've got a group of people who are on their own time, all interested and willing to participate, you know, whatever that activity is for the day, whether it's a softball day, right? Like it's a way for us to find some commonality to, in a sense, relieve stress or not be as stressed because we aren't in the workplace. And it does give us an opportunity to get to know each other on a more personal level, which I think that's part of where some of the disconnect happens, right? Because you could be at work, you could be completely stressed, but I don't know the person next to me, right? So even if I'm not in a committee setting, I'm not necessarily going to talk to the person next to me to help relieve some stress or to troubleshoot or whatever it is that I might be going through. And I get it. We've been trained to not bring anything personal into the workspace. Right. And so, you know, maybe that's it. Should as a committee, we be looking at sort of the culture of the facilities that we create, right? Is there that cognitive safety to be able to have a conversation with the person next to me and not feel like I'm going to end up, you know, getting into something because I've expressed some sort of personal feeling, you know? In all honesty, I think those are the opportunities where we can actually talk to each other and probably be resources to each other.
I like how you also said culture, because wellness committees, I believe that's one of their priorities, is if there is a negative mindset, their job is to help shift the culture to try to maintain some level. I mean, again, being positive is intentional. I'm not telling you to shift reality. I'm just telling you that there's positive things amongst the negative, but you just have to be able to struggle through it. Or the level of optimism, you know, that there is something at the other end. And I think that wellness committees, their focus is, you know, how do we get people to react differently to the times that we're in? And again, guys, the people that you want to have influence on this literally have to be the ones that are passionate about maintaining good employee morale for the right motives. Now, what I mean by that, and something that we were discussing before, is kind of go back real quick, is the wellness committee is not, it's not a union meeting. You know, it's not a spot at a table where you're here just to vet all these concerns and expect those concerns to be changed. It's more of, this is what's happening and this is how we have to react to that, because we are going through tough times. The reason why I brought it up again is because Paul mentioned a good thing about food. An idea of that is when you do have people being mandated, facilities understaffed, maybe management could do something one day with, you know, ordering something in, you know, food or something that could let staff know, hey, I know you're going through some tough times, but, you know, let's get some healthier food for you guys. Let's get something to show you that you are appreciated. Now, mind you, another part of the wellness committee is to try to find, this is my thing, I'm working on it now, is I want people to have pride in the work that they do. Again, right? So me, Connie, and Russ, we talked about this, you know, which really, it is about recognition, but it's also about appreciation, because I want people to kind of understand that the work we do has purpose, and that, you know, that purpose, you have to feel it inwards out. So I like to see if we could multiply milestones. So let me just explain what that means. Okay, so usually there's only certain parts of someone's career that's remembered. Day one, and you retire, and usually it's blah. You know, I would like to say we're more invested in that, but again, we should make bigger moments of that. But there are certain things in our career that we may get automatically recognition for, you know, 25 years of service, but usually it happens because maybe we've been so used to doing it. You know, 25 years doesn't mean we're all into it. It just means that, hey, the person got 25 years and we have to do something. It should be we want to do something, but usually we have to do something. And on day one, I'll tell you something. How many people get into this job on day one, which is a big day for that person, but they kind of go unnoticed? it's obscurity because, again, it's a big day for them. They get to start their career. Me and Connie discussed this the other day, but we don't invest a lot in that, which we should. That's a very big day for someone, especially in this profession right now. You want to keep people. So showing that they're recognized and appreciated on their first day, or maybe within the first month where everybody that's new, maybe within the first month we all meet and we celebrate them, or just to kind of maintain that. Now, having said that, there's a lot of milestones that we could make along the way to kind of show people that the quality of their work, however routine it may be, is appreciated. One of the things we were talking about is, let's go from the civilian side. Maybe the civilian educated 1,000 students. We may not recognize it, but we should. Maybe there's a way that's kept track of, and all of a sudden they come up and say, by the way, did you know you hit 1,000 students today? What? Yeah. Just want to multiply a milestone, and then maybe for custody, how about searches? Hey, do you know today, Russ, that today was your 1,000th search? Whoa. I just think, whatever, a little shirt or something. I mean, who knows? I don't know about the recognition side, but it's appreciating that milestone. So again, maybe the person's getting hit up for their third day, or whatever it is, but maybe just that little gesture. I think that'd be cool. Like, hey guys, guess what? I did 1,000 searches. Or no, sorry, in today's world, I've been mandated 1,000 times. I don't know if that all jokes aside, but the milestones along the way, if we could learn to appreciate what people feel are little steps, and we call it multiplying the milestone, instead of just doing, first day and retirement, look at 25 years of all the other things that could be considered, however routine, that could promote the quality of work. So, Russ, what's your thought on, and I think each department has milestones we can utilize, but what's your thought, Russ, on multiplying the milestones?
Well, I think that's something that, we definitely have to look into. We have to find a way to try and, get some of that appreciation out there. Unfortunately, corrections has tended forever now to be a pretty thankless career. We go in there and we protect the lives of the public every day, and they don't have a chance to see that. We're not an officer out on the street, that recovers somebody's stolen property, or calls the fire department to get the cat down out of the tree, or is able to, go out there and do a toy drive for Christmas. We go in to those, steel and concrete walls, and the public forgets about us. And unfortunately, sometimes our administrators forget about us. And sometimes we forget about ourselves. So I think that that's an excellent point. Recognize those milestones, or at least, recognize the efforts over the past year that somebody's done, some extra assignments they volunteered for, some extra, work that they did, maybe even on the outside, something to try and find everybody has done, that everybody has participated in. I think would be, a fantastic idea, because like I say, once again, that recognition for anything just hasn't been there, no matter how much effort you've put in. Sometimes we get a little bit of it here and there. Some people at least, get that nod, that pat on the back for a good job. But many times, it's just, we expect to go from the beginning of our career all the way to the end and not be noticed.
Yeah, and Connie, I know obviously you got a book out there, The Cage Was Her Cocoon. I believe the book is broken up into 4 parts. Each part is a milestone that's intentional. So obviously the multiplying the milestone you truly get, correct? How would that relate to, let's say, medical or just the civilian side? I mean, could that carry some weight?
So I think it absolutely could carry some weight. I mean, when you think about, a civilian, I remember bringing somebody on who lasted 2 hours, right? And so to have a civilian who's there for 5 years or 10 years, I wonder myself, how did I manage to be in corrections for 15 years? Or someone said one day, hey, like, you seem a little soft to be in corrections. And I remember just laughing, right? Because if you don't know who you are when you walk in, the environment can change you, right? And so I think I had the ability to kind of not be molded by the environment, to still remain myself. And I think that when we do take a look at the various milestones that we reach, there's got to be a way. Like, so for the organization that I worked for, one of the things they did was like they had like these pins that were there were a gold pin that was like a mitt and a ball, right? And so when someone did something really great, they got a good catch. And so, but this good catch wasn't just random, right? This good catch came from like the warden might bring it, or, you know, someone from an administration, or I would be the one issuing this good catch to someone who, you know, either did some extra training outside and they brought that training back and applied it in the facility. You know, someone didn't have to go out on a hospital run because we were able to maintain someone in the facility. I think there are just so many ways that we can acknowledge and recognize those folks who are simply just, they're the ones who are hanging in there and who are just doing what has to get done. And, you know, I think part of the challenge is that sometimes folks feel taken for granted, and there's got to be a way for us to acknowledge them so that they don't have that feeling.
Yeah, and I get what John's saying too. You know, okay, so guys, let me just mention something. So everything we're talking about is intentional, which means that this is an effort every day, because if not, the facility is going to go back to what it's most comfortable with, which is usually complacency, decline, not appreciating personal value. So this is something that has to be managed every day, which means that if it does happen to fall back, then we have to go back and look at ourselves and say, could we have done more? Because a wellness committee is not easy. It has to be maintained. You can't like expect, okay, I formed a committee and then not be active with it. Because once you get momentum and once it's going, you have to keep that momentum. You can't expect it to run itself. You have to be intentional. Because as I said, again, everything kind of wants to listen. The way times are right now, it's easier if you just let the facility fall back to where it wants to be, but it's not healthier. That means we have to constantly be that, you know, that force that's fighting, and that's where it becomes exhausting, because we can't give up, not even for a second. So having said that, that's where the passion comes in. That means that, you know, we ourselves on the wellness committee, we have to come up where an attitude where we cannot be defeated. And now that sounds crazy, but it's true. That means for those that I get the reasons why you're upset and you feel hopeless, but the people on the wellness committee, it's sad to say, even if they feel it, they can't show it. So I'd rather just say they really can't feel it, because it's going to leak out on behavior. So this may be a bit aggressive, hopefully not unreal, but you can't even feel it. You have to be so defined in purpose and value that even through these toughest of times, you can keep the fight going. That's why I always tell people, you got to have purpose, because if you don't, you have no momentum. You have no fuel, you know, because purpose is what drives you. And the other thing is this: a wellness committee cannot be task driven. They have to be goal oriented, you know? So this is not just something I do for the day and I'm done. This is everything that you do has to go to a bigger picture, which is ultimately bringing us together and creating something evergreen that we learn to appreciate each other. And one day, this could be unreal. I don't think, but this is a great vision to have, because it's something that you're always going to strive to do. People wanting to go to work on their Monday. Now imagine that in corrections. Gangi, that will never happen, but why can't I imagine it though? Because if I imagine it, that gives me a purpose to strive for. Regardless if it ever happens, that's a pretty cool thing to strive for, Russ. Would you agree, Russ? Would you like to look forward? Well, actually, I think you did. Actually, yes, sorry.
You know,
you're on the wellness committee, Russ.
I will say this is, you know, I wanted to put in my time while I was getting ready to retire in a manner that allowed me to have the most fun every single day. And so for me, it was a mental mindset. I wish more people could maybe cultivate that idea, but I get it. It's not every day was, you know, my favorite day, and they're not even necessarily every week, but I tried overall to maintain that, where I wanted to show up every day. And I would just hope that, you know, everyone would try and maintain that positivity, But when we see those who aren't maintaining it, those that are down for a reason or for, just that they're tired, that we'd be able to, find a way to reach out to them and boost them up. And the wellness committee is one facet that allows us to do that. And so I would hope that would be our goal, is to, focus these committees in a way that allows them to do the most good. Corrections is a great career, and it has the potential to be greater for more people with these kind of committees in place. And having said that, I'm going to need to bow out now, Anthony. So I will catch you guys later, and I will look forward to seeing what you guys discuss after this point.
All right, take care, Russ. Thanks for stopping by.
Anytime.
Good night, Russ.
All right, Connie, he left me and you here. Awkward.
Stop it.
So,
Listen, I think that this discussion about the wellness committee is really important. I think our reality, though, is that the wellness committees are only going to be as good as the people who get involved. They're only going to be as strong as those who are involved, who are engaging, who are giving their ideas, who are sharing sort of what the needs are, and being transparent about it. And I think those who are on the committee also have to be able to receive the feedback. Here are the things that are working, here are the things that aren't working. And I think it's really just that simple. Like, are there ways that we could do things differently, better? Absolutely. But I also feel that ultimately the staff who actually participate are the ones who are going to make that committee strong or not strong.
Connie, you see me? I guess that's John. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. It's a little. Russ has a hot date. Is he married? Yes, he's married.
Oh my God.
Okay, so so let's get to John. John's got the okay. So guys, we have to get an understanding of each other's perspective. We kind of go back and forth with this, but I want people to know it's a lot of stress when you have to hold people accountable. It's not the easiest thing because it does make your road tough, but that is the job, And by the way, guys, as you start to move up, that's the first responsibility that you have to take, even as a sergeant, holding people accountable. And the sad thing is that could be stress on us. That's why I said when it comes to the staff wellness, it's yes, I get it. You want it to be geared for the front line, but in all fairness, yes, frontline deals with a blunt. I'm not minimizing that. But so do our supervisors. So do the good leaders who want to do more but can't, and they get frustrated. And their wellness matters too, because in the end, we want competent leaders. We want people that can do the job because they're in the right mindset. But with that said, we have to start understanding it more because. Again, guys, we could do a wellness committee, but there's no way a wellness committee can win against generalized animosity. It's just impossible because the motive of the committee is to bring everybody together, but generalized animosity, it's ripping people apart, guys. And the problem is, as I said, it's easier for us to be ripped apart because that's what the environment at this point wants us to do. It's scary, but I'm not lying. That's the default in corrections. So you have to require more effort, and it has to be intentional in bringing us together. And the problem is generalized animosity. It doesn't give us the effort we need to bring us together. So to me, it's very upsetting where that becomes our default. So imagine, being on the wellness committee and trying to do your best each and every day, but then you always have that one naysayer who, by the way, something negative, man, that multiplies over something positive. So the wellness committee has to work extremely hard to produce one positive result, but the person saying something negative, all they have to do is bloop, and then it flies across through wildfire. And the reason why is because that's what people want to believe. That's why we have to be very careful in the intent of the messages that we pass out there, because in the end, most of the time, people want to confirm what's negative. So you have to literally try to push positive messages. And most of the time, people may not read that because that doesn't confirm their belief. So, but eventually people will come around. But you keep on putting stuff up that's negative and trying to think that's going to change the way we are and what we do by starting with a negative perspective. It's not. It just confirms people's mindset, and they're not even going to pay attention to your whole speech. All they're going to hear is admin's at fault, or they can't do it, and they don't hear at the very end of your speech, but here's what we need to do. No, it's got to be something positive at first. It's not about quantity. It's about the quality of the people who look at the message. So I could have 20,000 people looking at a negative message. Fine. But I could have 5 quality people looking at a positive message, and they could be in a position to really help me multiply that message and get it out there to the people that matter who can multiply it. So it's long term, but it's going to produce better numbers. But Connie, being a wellness committee, fighting against the negative, that's where, you have to have the energy, and that's where the effort. And guys, I don't know if you know, and Connie, I'm sure will understand this, the effort behind that. You'll never see it, but the effort of a true wellness committee to try to, get in front of the negative, it's got to be exhausting. And for them to stay motivated to do that, Connie, how hard is that?
So I think that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Like that's where you really see that people are committed, So I think as a committee, you have to have very clear goals. And I think it's a matter of doing that due diligence to understand what the needs truly are. Because you could start making all these efforts. And if they actually don't meet any of the needs, they're all efforts in futility, right? And so it's like one of the things that I think may be missing is the measurement, right? Like as a committee, are we tracking the progress? Are we tracking the efforts so that we could report out? Because I think that's part of it, right? That people may not recognize the efforts that are made, but we don't also highlight the efforts that are made. And I think those are the ways that, maybe staff can understand just how much that the committee is trying to do in order to make sure that they get the support they need. They get access to the resources. So, I think the listening part is critical as a committee, being able to listen to what the staff needs. And then I think the measurement part is also really a big thing, because you want to make sure, like if it is a food truck, right? How many people went to the food truck? Right? Here's an effort that we made to bring people together. We fed 300 people on this day, or we fed, I think you mentioned a little earlier about, someone, not being sure if someone's supporting the wellness committee or not, or they're just happy they got coffee on third shift. Like, I think the fact that there is an understanding that third shift is oftentimes overlooked, right? I think to know that the coffee was available for third shift, to me, is like, wow. So the committee was listening. They understand that third shift is feeling overlooked. And so they fill the gap. And I think those are the things that we need to highlight and kind of just show. So for the month of January, this is what we did, right? Because many people may not just recognize that and give the wellness committee it's due that they've actually been listening and making the efforts.
Right. I want to get to Paul's question, but John says something good. I get this too, John. Very good perspective. Intent and effort doesn't speak to me. Results speak to me. We have to change that mindset. And we have to change that mindset fast, because the people that want to make a difference may not always be in charge of the outcome. And the moment we stop appreciating their effort, the problem is they stop trying. So having said that, we can't always be outcome driven. We can't. I want to get to Paul's question because I think Paul has a great question. It's definitely going to be a little bit of a dialogue here, but I think it's going to be fun to answer. But John, is it John? Let's make sure. Hey, John, but that's a great point. I just want to know, we have to shift our mind on that, because the effort may not be seen, but it doesn't mean it's not happening. And the problem is people only get thank you'd. So imagine all the people right now that commit to an effort but never get thanked. And the people that get get an outcome always getting thanked. Well, maybe the outcome was easy. I don't know, but I know the effort is really what we should also be thanking. I know you couldn't do it, but I just want to thank you because I appreciate the effort. But that is a great perspective, John. I appreciate that. sometimes both sides, admin and line staff, have to take a step back and recognize the attempt. That this is perfect. This is what I'm talking about. You're never going to get to what you never get what you want, but they're trying. See, that is better than I could have said it, Ernest. So I appreciate that, because that's exactly what we were trying to talk. Now, this is a great question. I want to let Connie go first, because I want to. No, but Connie, this is your type of question. I love this question here. So let's have fun with this one. So again, questions kind of loaded a little bit. So we are going to answer the perspective. So if upper management can't change things, who can, Anthony? So I don't know. I'm not saying upper management can't change things, but let me not influence Connie's answer. But if upper management can't change things, let's just say this. Let's do it this way, Connie, because I love Paul's question, but let's just ask it this way. Who can change things?
We are all responsible for the change that we want to see. And I know that sounds cliche, but as we start to make changes in the way we engage in the environment, how we conduct ourselves, how we engage with each other, like those changes, you rub off on people, right? Like, and it's not to say that one person is going to be able to change the world, right? But it is to say that one person going in, making the constant effort every day, right? At some point, it's going to take hold. And I know we in our cynical space, we don't ever think that that's going to happen, right? Simply because we've been there long enough, we've not seen it happen. I've been in corrections almost over 2 decades, right? There's some things that I've been waiting to see change that haven't changed, right? But I feel that it is us, right? Like you think of this panel, right? We come on, it's in our own time. We want to be a resource to anyone who needs access to information, right? You think of Russ doing Keepers of Chaos, like he's doing that on his own time, because as we begin to influence others' behaviors, you begin to see the change. Even as you think about like folks who are retiring, right? Some of those older perspectives, that nothing's ever going to change, like due to attrition, right? Some of that just goes out the door, and you have new people who come in who actually believe there could be change, right? And you start to see that little by little. I mean, they say like an organization can't change. It takes about 15 years for a culture to change in an organization. So that's like many people's career, right? Like you might have been here and saw things one way, and then by the time you're ready to leave is when you start to see the actual change. But the efforts were being made long time ago, which is also when you see things changing in facility, right? A lot of times it's proactive. I mean, no, it's not proactive. It's reactive. There's something happened that caused us to change. But a lot of times there's those people who keep writing, right? They keep writing, they keep documenting, and it goes but so long that documentation could be ignored. And so the change begins to happen over time because people haven't given up. And I think that's the thing. If we want to see certain changes, we have to begin to be the ones to make those changes.
And that's all echoed in your in the statements here. Everybody's saying, be responsible for the change. And you know what's funny, guys? I mean, Abraham, Trish, Ernest, Cecilia, guys, real quick, first off, 100%, we have to kind of be part of the change that we're looking for. We have to try to be motivating that as well, where I know Connie said, can't give up. I agree. It's funny because you'll talk to someone and they're saying, well, because Joe mentioned a great point. How about appealing to the local elected officials? Open up the dialogue. You might be pleasantly surprised. I agree with that, Joe. I think so far we've been getting used to hearing the no's, that all of a sudden we stop trying. And then someone goes, well, do you think people, no one's listening. When was the last time you said something? Well, I gave up. Oh, wait a second. Then of course no one's listening because you're not saying anything. So, it really is a persistent effort to, knowing that each no, optimistically, maybe could lead to a closer yes. But, I think most of the time when it comes to doing something positive, if we are more focused on the outcome and not the effort it takes, then yes, we're going to quit very quick. We're going to quit the first no we get because, again, we're outcome driven. But if you know it's going to require hard work, and if you kind of milestone it out, right? Instead of having just that one destination, multiply the milestones, you'll start appreciating the journey. Okay, I've gotten a no, but we're here now. I've gotten 2 no's, but look how far we're here now. We're here now. Because believe it or not, guys, there's always growth in the journey too. And guys, the reason why this is important, guys, is because the people that are on the wellness committee, one thing that we didn't mention yet, but I think we all agree with, everybody on the wellness committee have to be leaders, not managers. Because people on the wellness committee, they may be creating ideas, but they have to be innovators, because it's not just about saying ideas at the table. They also have to make the magic happen. They have to apply it. So one thing for me is everybody that sits on that committee, besides having that positive influence and the passion, they have to be leaders themselves, and they have to be willing to step up, make decisions, and keep fighting. Keep fighting. Connie, do you think that people on the wellness committee, they all have to be leaders? Because it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that they all have to be leaders in that any one of them could carry the torch, right? Any one of them is going to be able to stand behind the mission and push that mission, right? And I think when we're all speaking that common language, I think that, even if someone steps away or they get distracted or whatever happens, that someone leaves the committee, you still have everyone who's still standing, who's still, in strong belief of the mission and working towards accomplishing that mission. And honestly, I think there are just certain skills within leaders that you need to have at all times, right? Like you think about all those soft skills like communication, good listening, advocacy. All those things are critical. And I think especially with a committee where there are a lot of folks who probably aren't as supportive, right? Like you need people who are strong and who are confident and who can stay the course.
Right. Now, I get what John's saying. John's saying, little about hope being gone, left years ago, and then stay the course, but hope is all but gone. Hey, John. So real quick, and by the way, thanks. I love the honesty here. So John, I appreciate that. So check this out. Obviously, this is we may not get the outcome we want in our lifetime. No one tells you that there's an end date to it all. All it tells you is someone's got to begin the process. So whether it happens in my lifetime or I'm dead for 50 years and all of a sudden someone watches their first Tear Talk video, I don't know where my legacy is going to be. No one does. But I will tell you something. Maybe I can compare this to something. So I started Tear Talk. I don't know. My years are getting confused because I wrote for a magazine prior to that. So I want to say, let's just say being a voice, maybe around 2013, maybe, or 14, something like that. Tear Talk could have been around 15. I forget. I don't know if I started when I was a sergeant because I could picture myself doing it, or if I was already an admin at the time. So I'm getting a year or something confused. But I want to tell you something, guys. I knew when I started it, and believe it or not, guys, I'm going to be. I'm going to kind of blow my own horn here for a little bit. Well, that kind of sounds awkward. Yeah, that sounds stupid. Well, what's the other? What can I use? I don't want to blow my own horn. It sounds perverse. What else is there? What would it be? Standing on a pedestal? Is that the same?
Oh, God.
No, I don't know. That sounds weird. I got to watch out. I want to stand on a pedestal for a bit. So when I started Tear Talk, the mission was always to get the word out there, to let people know that what we do has value in it. But then eventually is found out that we needed value in ourselves. So I wanted to create ultimately a change in this profession, a culture shift. So now, 8 years later, because by the way, guys, Tear Talk wasn't always well received by the people that had the ability to make the changes. It was well received by the front line because, hey, this guy's speaking our concerns, but it was hated by those from the higher ups. So now these last couple of years, growing up in my perspective, never changing but growing and bringing good quality people on the show, we're asked now in the last couple of years to teach leadership conferences, leadership in corrections. Now that gives us the chance to create influence. So now it gives us a chance because we've developed and grown into this perspective that now we can go out and hopefully have an influence on a whole state. Next year it's Wisconsin, Nebraska, Atlantic City. I mean, there's a lot coming on. And part of what we're talking about is they're asking for leadership. I remember prior it used to be manipulation, and then doing these shows and having over 1,000 videos. Now it's leadership, and I've been frustrated along the way thinking that all these no's were getting me nowhere, but they were actually getting me somewhere because each no got me, gave me more energy, believe it or not, kept me motivated. But I wish that, you can get the outcome right away, but we're not meant to, because if we got the outcome quick, guys, we wouldn't appreciate it. I mean, to be honest with you, it's true. We wouldn't appreciate it. If it was that easy to get, we wouldn't appreciate it. So I got to say, and again, John, I love what you're saying here, but if you only believe in the outcome and the effort or the intent doesn't matter, then you're further from the outcome that you want. Trust and believe. Because the one thing about effort, if it's good effort based on good intent, at least it's moving you forward, right? At least it's pushing you forward. But it's when you're not doing nothing, you don't even stay back, the world's still moving. It's going to push you back. So again, effort is what moves you forward. It moves you closer to getting the outcome. So you may not get always what you want at that moment, but at least you're closer to the yes. So guys, I guess we'll start wrapping it up, and then we'll probably do a show later in the week. Next week I guess we'll try. I like what Chuck says. It starts with one. One has the courage, and that courage encourages the other. Right? It's the pay it forward method. It really is. It's the pay it forward method. But again, guys, I wish that if I wanted to go for quantity, I could always go back and reiterate the same concerns, but anybody could deliver that message. My job is, how do we grow? How do we grow together? How do we elevate our community? Where are they going to be able to get information they can't get anywhere else? I mean, everybody all day could talk about get mandated, not enough incentive, but only few channels. I think maybe mine, we'll see. I'm sure there's other ones, but right now mine will tell you how to deal with that. I can't change it, but I can tell you how to deal with it. And I think that's kind of the center of our wellness committee. So effort moves you forward. The outcome will come if the effort's there. See, look at that, man. And again, guys, the shift really comes from not being task driven, but goal oriented. Because if you're goal oriented, you're going to fail along the way. You know it, but then you learn, you move forward. But if you're task driven, guys, task driven expects immediate outcomes in a world where that's not in your control. Now tell Connie you're moving on to the next topic of tonight. You'll spend 2 hours. Oh, he must have watched last episode. All right, so no, he is right, Connie. So, and I'm sure. So for the next 5 hours.
Oh no.
No, hear me out. Oh yeah, wait, Connie. So you're gonna dread this, right? For the next 5 hours, Connie, just be out. You can be honest. You're gonna dread it, right?
Not if I'm gonna be sleeping.
Okay. Oh, so you're saying in the next 5 hours, what I'm going to do is going to put you to sleep. It's fine. I am going to read word for word The Cage Was Her Cocoon.
Ooh,
so we'll start with this. To Anthony Gangi. No, I'm kidding, guys. Guys, you get a chance. It's a great book, though, because this book actually exemplifies an idea about multiplying the milestones. I brought it out for a reason. Milestones do matter. I think, if anything, that's a good part. Poor Connie, of course. Poor Connie. Poor Connie. It's always poor Connie. Connie, just say no. Man, my audience they throw. Look at this. I can't say anything. Yes, it's on Amazon, right, Connie?
Yes.
Yeah, and Connie, look, the audience they love you, man.
They want me to get tough with you because you guys be just saying whatever. I just let it go. I've become accustomed. And quite frankly, you guys don't realize, like, I literally talk with Anthony every day, and we talk for hours about everything. Everything corrections, not corrections, our kids, I think that's something that we have to realize, that, this divide only exists when we allow it to.
Yeah. Guys, again, I don't have the answers that's going to change the times that we're in. But maybe we could just create some positive light and appreciate the moments, because I know the holidays are coming. Me and Connie did a show about it yesterday. And there's a great sacrifice there. I get it. But if we live disgruntled, if we choose not to find the positive, and guys, I'm not saying to change the negative in the positive. I'm telling you to be intentional and find the positive. Then our life is going to be shit. Oh, shit. Did you read that?
I did.
Did you read what Exefio just put? The rap is a restraint thing, brother. Yeah, that's kind of. He knows that. Yeah, that was a good one, man. Okay, you get the comment of the day, Exefio. That's fair. Hey, Connie, any closing thoughts?
Man, listen, I think that the Wellness Committee is well-intentioned. I think we have to be open to the different approaches they may bring forward. We may not necessarily agree, but we can't get to the right place with the Wellness Committee if we're not willing to get involved. And so it's easy to sit on the sideline and criticize when there are other people who are really starting from scratch to bring these committees to life and to just try to reinvigorate, staff morale and everything else that has been sort of going down in the last couple of years. I mean, many will say it's always been going down, right? 10 years on Rikers, and I was like, oh my God, but I think the reality is that if you want to see things move in a positive direction, that you have to get involved. I don't know that there's any other way. We can't be dragging people into the committee. People need to come and be willing to get in the ring.
But Kai Tyson, that's kind of what the dialogue was about. And guys, I get the negativity, but let's just be mindful that sometimes we also see the world the way we want to see it. So if I'm constantly seeing the negative, then that's all I'm going to see. And that's why today's discussion was, when I'm saying being positive, I'm not saying to change the negative into positive. I'm just saying look for the positive. So, okay, John's got it. You keep the fight going. That's what this dialogue was about. About basically creating a wellness committee, making sure they're dedicated, committed. But again, Sam saying the same thing, that we all need to keep the fight going. And guys, it's not about the outcome at this point. Right now, it's just keep the effort going, and don't stop the effort. I guess we can end it on that. Don't stop the effort. The effort is the only thing that keeps us moving forward. So once you stop the effort, now we're hopeless. Now nothing will happen. Now the outcome you want will never happen. Stop the effort. No chance of getting the outcome. Start the effort. Continue the effort. It increases your chances, even if it's 0.0001%. Fair enough. That's still more than no effort.
Better than nothing.
Yeah. All right, guys. As always, stay safe, and we'll catch you later in the week.